Hi, this is Dr. Tom Rogers at Performance Medicine, coming to you with a weekly podcast, The Common Sense MD. That's me, Common Sense MD. As we get into this new year of 2023, which 23 is my favorite number, I was reminded that, we need to think about things you can do to kind of health hacks for 2023. By that I mean things that you need to kind of help you get along that will supplement your health, things that are cool to use. Now, I was reminded of this because I went to the Biltmore Da Vinci exhibit this past weekend. Leonardo da Vinci. They have a great exhibit by him. Here's a little memento from that. But I've always been fascinated by Da Vinci because not only was he was just an amazing human being, maybe, one of the most amazing we've ever seen. Genius is just an inadequate word to describe him. But this guy not only was a very famous painter, sculptor, mathematician, anatomist. This guy was he did everything, inventor. For goodness sake, he painted the Mona Lisa. This guy lived 500 years ago, and he was doing things like drawing up schematics for helicopters and airplanes and self-driving cars, things that we're really just now putting to use. But he was an amazing guy, and so every time I think about him, I think about things that I want to get for myself and my patients that can kind of help them age better, feel better, kind of health hacks, ways to make your life easier as we get older, because that's the kind of practice I run, an anti-aging or better aging type of practice. So I've got a few things that for 23 that I'm going to be focusing on with me. I think I talked last week about I'm going to be focusing on better sleep, better gut health, and building more muscle for this coming year. And there's just a few things that I have that I use that you may or may not know about. Some of them are new to me. Some of them I've had for years. But I'm just going to give you a list of them, and you can kind of hopefully enjoy this little podcast. One thing I don't have down here with me is my new Dawn clock. Now, I've been using it for a few weeks now, and it's like a globe, a sphere that wakes you up in the morning really without an alarm. Not that I really need an alarm. I just wake up at the right time anyway. I haven't used an alarm clock in many, many years, but I used to have to. But in any event, this thing's cool because it starts out as a glow. Maybe 20 minutes before you really want to get up, it starts gradually going from an orange glow to a bright light. You can also throw in bird sounds or waves or whatever you want, but it's a pretty cool thing to kind of wake you up like the natural sunlight would do. So that's my new Dawn clock. It's made by Philips. I think I ordered it from Amazon, about $100. Another cool thing that I got, actually Ben got this for me for Christmas, but it's called a hip hook. Now, if you've been around me very long, I have kind of a bad back. I've got some scoliosis and some degenerative disc disease in my back. And I have really tight hip flexors, which I suspect most people have. Sometimes my hip flexors wake me up in the middle of the night really just spasming. And so, we do everything in this life really in a forward posture. We're kind of sitting around a lot. I'm an active person for 68 years old, but, age is catching up a little bit, plus a lot of athletic pursuits in the past. And I'm just long torsoed, and I have really tight hip flexors. And those two hip flexors are called the iliopsoas, and there's another one called the iliacus that you probably never heard of. But anyway, they're positioned very close to each other. They're deep abdominal muscles that are responsible for flexion and extension of your hip. Very important muscles, and they get tight. They just do on everybody. The other muscles that get tight are your hamstrings. My hamstrings are pretty flexible, but my hip flexors are really tight, believe me. And so I do all kinds of stuff to try to loosen them up, but still it's tough. So this hip hook is a really cool thing because it really gets into there. I'm not going to demonstrate right now how to use this thing, but you either use it laying down or standing against a wall. And this part of it right here kind of digs into that psoas muscle, and then you use the lever to get into your iliacus, and it really has helped me. I've been using it for a little over a week, and it doesn't wake me up in the middle of the night anymore, and I wake up with a lot less tightness in my hip flexors, and therefore my back is better. So I really like that hip hook. Another thing is called, also provided to me by Ben, is called rubs. And this is a ball that has these little tiny rubber spikes on it that I rub the bottom of my feet on. I just step on it and kind of rub it around. It's great for plantar fasciitis. And really, it's also good for balance because your proprioception in your feet can determine whether you're going to fall or not. That deep perineal nerve really is important in preventing falls and helping you keep balanced. That's one thing a lot of people don't realize, but it really makes the bottoms of your feet feel really, really great. Another thing that I have that I'm not going to demonstrate, but they're toe spreaders. Especially baby boomers like me, we wore our shoes too tight. We wore shoes too much, for one thing. And if you're like me, your fifth toe is kind of curled under your fourth a little bit. We haven't allowed our feet to spread like they are supposed to do. And a lot of your good runners from different countries have a lot wider toe box. So if our toes are gnarled together, it's going to cause foot problems. How many of you had foot problems? Most of us. So this is my second pair, much better than my first one. But they're called toe spreaders. You get them from Amazon, and they just keep your toes spread out to kind of retrain your toes. So when you buy shoes, don't make sure your toe box isn't too narrow to crunch your feet in. I also have a great trick for not wearing socks. I hate to wear socks because it makes it worse, feel cramped. I don't wear socks hardly ever, even in the winter. I take a little footy sock and put it around my insole of my shoe and then put it in my shoe. So it's like I'm wearing a sock on the bottom so your feet don't stink so much, and yet you're really not wearing socks. That's another cool thing. So I like my Rubs football. Another thing that I like that I've used for years, of course, is my Theragun. And I actually bought a new attachment for it for my low back. So these are soft. The Theragun can have a pretty hard ball on the end of it. It can be pretty painful. So I use it occasionally, but most of the time on my lower back, I use these soft things and covers a lot more room. Just in addition to your Theragun, just ordered. It's not real expensive online. I've used the stick for many years to rub out my quads and my hamstrings. I love the stick. And of course, foam roller. I mean, who doesn't have one of these? You just roll your whole body out on it. I've been doing that for years. Another thing I like is this I don't know what they call this. Ernie turned me on to that one, but you kind of like, say you have a sore spot in your back, your scapula. If you do a lot of push-ups or pull-ups, you're going to get tender trigger points in your back, and you can kind of massage your back using this thing, a lot of different attachments. I use this thing all the time for sore back muscles. So anyway, another thing that I have purchased about a month ago after reading this book called Earthing, I've long believed in the theory of grounding. We need to be connected to the earth. And a lot of it has to do with the electron transport chain and free radicals, things like that, which I need to do a podcast on this book, and I really will in the future. But it's really important to be connected to the earth. We wear rubber sole shoes. We sleep in beds that aren't connected to the ground, and it's really bad for us. So if you practice something called grounding or earthing, where it's not just walking out in nature in the dirt. You can do some hacks for that too, like wear moccasins if you don't want to get your feet cut up or you're scared to walk in the dirt. But a couple of things I purchased this past year is an earthing mattress pad and pillow covers, and they're hooked up to the outlet, which is a grounding outlet. And I think it's really helped me. They say here it's the most important health care discovery ever. I don't know about that, but it sure does seem to help inflammation and pain a lot and stiffness. So I think this mattress pad and pillow covers and have really helped me. And I keep my shoes off whenever I can. Another good thing for your feet, take your shoes off and walk in the dirt. My mom always told me man was supposed to play in the dirt, and I really believe her, whether it's doing something like that or getting in your garden or whatever. But you need to be connected to the earth, and it has a lot to do with electricity. Our bodies are electrical. Think of your heart rhythm. It's electrical activity. It's also neurons and electrical impulses for your brain and transmission. Very important. And nobody ever really thinks about this. These hormones, these neurotransmitters, they all work by electricity, the electricity that comes from the earth, which has a negative charge. And you have all these positive charges and neutral charges in your body and your cells. And if they're not grounded by those negative electrons, then they promote free radical damage and things like that. So it's pretty cool. And I will do a podcast on that. So those are some of the things I have. Some other things that I want to emphasize that you may want to do. Of course, everybody always comes to me for weight loss. Really, hormones and weight loss is my biggest gigs. I mean, that's my expertise, really, besides being a family doc and trying to take after Da Vinci and be on the top of things, before most people know about them. But anyway, so certain things I do. A lot of people come to me for weight loss because we live in an obese country. And, if I've said many times, if the average person in the United States weighed what they did back in 1960, there would be no healthcare crisis at all. It's our number one healthcare problem is obesity. And then overuse of drugs. But obesity is rampant. It's terrible. It's a killer. It's a debilitator. It's awful. It causes you to get on more medicines that you never needed in the first place. But anyway, I think the drugs of the decade are two that I've used thousands and thousands of times for weight loss. And they're both diabetic drugs that are also used for weight loss, Ozempic and Mounjaro. They're once-a-week shots, and I can't tell you how many success stories I've had using these two medicines. It's a once-a-week shot. They're formulating more forms of it, so we'll get better insurance coverage on them because they're expensive. But they're really diabetic drugs that help lower your sugars, but they also cause a lot of weight loss that you need because most people are insulin resistant. It's a metabolic problem. But they work tremendously. They also reduce your chances of heart attack, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. I mean, they're very protective also. So these, to me, ought to be the drugs of the decade. Other things that hacks you can do. I love low-dose naltrexone for autoimmune disease. Use it a ton. I had a question today. Their doctor won't prescribe it for them. Well, they shouldn't prescribe it for you unless they know how it works. So go to a functional medicine doctor like we are and find out about the many advantages of taking very safe LDN. Methylene blue is another one we've used for a lot of post-COVID symptomatology and better breathing, along with prevention of UTIs, more energy. We use a lot of methylene blue. I like the perfect aminos. I use it daily to help replace the protein that I really need to build muscle. We have a new machine in my Kingsport office called the Physique machine, and it is awesome. I've been experimenting with it on myself. It does two things. Number one, it melts fat permanently. The other thing it does is work your muscles out without you working out. So it's really cool the way it works, and it really does. It's kind of a painless way to lose fat and to build muscle. There's no substitute for eating right and exercising, but this is a little hack that's pretty amazing. Other hacks, I like rapamycin. I did a podcast on it. I'm not going to talk about it here, but go look at rapamycin. It's probably the ultimate anti-aging drug out there. Most of the people that I've prescribed it for have been physicians that have come to me for it. But do your research on rapamycin. It really is amazing how this works, and it seems to be very safe. Of course, I have my own line of vitamins now. Dr. Rogers Super Vitamin, which is a great vitamin. I was taking too many vitamins, so I wanted to combine a lot of them, which I was able to do through this pharmacy in Portland, Oregon. And I have an energy vitamin as well that combines a CoQ10 with PQQ that's less expensive than just the PQQ alone, so you need both. And I have my immune support. You know, the viruses that have gone around, you need some things in there like NAC and quercetin. And I always come back to Digest Shield with gut health. It's the best gut molecule supplement I've ever seen. Includes most of the things you need for your gut, especially if you suffer from IBS, which so many people do. I like CBD gummies. We have our own brands now. They work tremendously. There's 4 different types that we formulate, and they're great from energy to pain relief. I really like them. I always wear my Aura ring. That's a great thing to get somebody for, it's too late for Christmas, I guess, but maybe for their birthday. It's a great tracker for your health and sleep. And it just does so many different things. It's one of my best hacks is really to see how I'm sleeping and what my heart rate variability is, what my body temperature is, how much I've exercised, how intense, all those things, how I've recovered. But I mostly use mine for sleep. Really, really helps me a lot. I just got finished taking around, like I do every holiday, Christmas holiday, of my compounded formula of 5-FU and calcipotriene. It kind of burns the actinic keratosis off your face, sun damage that so many of us baby boomers, that sun worshipers have practiced by, and now we're paying the consequence. So keep an eye on your skin, and think about getting a prescription for that stuff. That really, you're going to look bad for a couple weeks, but man, it does clear your face up and prevents cancer. Makes your face like baby new too. I'm still on the tail end of it, as you can see. PRP, that's something we're doing in a couple of our offices, and Jill in our Bristol office just does a tremendous job with that. She's injected me. Both my knees are tremendously improved from injections from PRP. But you can do it in other places. It's worked great for hair loss, hair restoration. We do the P-shot. It's just an amazing injection that's easy. It doesn't hurt very much at all. And it really is very effective for regenerating joints. So no controversy over it at all. I've always enjoyed my infrared sauna. I get in that for the last 2 years almost every day. I love that. It's great for detoxification. It just makes you feel good. And then I jump in a cold shower. I have recently gotten an air fryer and an Instapot to cook in. And y'all think about those. It's hard to eat out all the time. The food just isn't as good as what you can cook yourself. So I'm a big believer in the air fryer and the Instapot. I love local honey. We carry it in all our offices. This is raw, local, unpasteurized honey. So many health benefits. It's unbelievable. Go to one on a podcast on honey, local, not the ones you buy in the grocery store. You have to buy it directly from the people that are beekeepers. And I buy directly from them. I tell you, one of the things I think is in the future are e-bikes, electronic bikes. I don't have one yet. I'm not quite to that point, but I did ride some this year in Washington, D.C., and, they're pedal assisted, so you get as much exercise as you want, but I can see as I get older, me purchasing an e-bike to really get outside and exercise. I love outdoor exercise. So think about an e-bike, and you can do mountain biking with them too. Long distance or mountain biking. Some of the other things that I do, I like peptides. Most doctors don't even know what peptides are, but they're really different strings of amino acids that act as a secretagogue. In other words, it directs another part of your body to produce certain things like more growth hormone that you need. Like Samorelin, Ipamorelin is my favorite. BPC 157 is really good. And there's a few supplements that I've added to my regimen. One is inositol. I got interested in this one because of Dr. Huberman's podcast on sleeping. It's one of his favorites, along with apigenin. These are two new to most people supplements that help for a variety of things. And I'm going to do a podcast very soon on those two supplements, along with one called HMB, hydroxymethylbutyrate, not to be confused with BHB. That's a little different. That's a ketone ester supplement. So this is HMB. It's for increased muscle mass, especially preventing muscle breakdown. I had this episode with some gut dysfunction earlier because of the tailwinds of COVID, and really lost a lot of muscle weight with that. You can see my journey with that in a few of my podcasts, but knock on wood, back to normal with nothing bad wrong. But anyway, that's one reason I'm focused on gut health this year a lot, because, the perfect storm can really throw your gut off for months, and you can be very unhealthy as a result of gut problems. So focus in on your gut. So this HMB builds muscle. It is a supplement. It's made from the amino acid leucine, and your body breaks it down. But it's a great kind of hack to increase muscle and decrease the muscle breakdown and aid in recovery. So I'll be talking about probably the inositol, apigenin, and HMB very soon on another podcast. But those are just some of the things that you can start doing. But think about the year 2023, how you want to improve your health. I firmly believe that you need a coach, you need some direction, because there's so many things out there that may be bogus, or people may try to sell you, but you need to do a lot of the research yourself and rely on folks like me that kind of do a lot of the research for you. To me, I'm like a health coach, helping you age better. Less pain, more energy. That's what most people come to the doctor for, along with screening. But anyway, I hope that you'll come in, maybe get a Cleveland Heart panel, see where you're at. Try some of these health hacks that I use almost every day, and I hope you can age well. And here's to a great 2023. I'll see you next week.